Ospreys will get back in the nest tonight, taking on UNC Asheville with tip-off at 7 o'clock. It's 77 degrees at 12 o'clock. Time in temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our three sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
Hey! This is Helmets and Heels
on 1010XL, switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
Well, ladies, I will tell you, I thought by now we would be discussing the fact that the Jaguars are going to be looking for a new general manager and a new head coach. But as we sit here right now, we're just going to talk about the fact that the Jaguars lost by 46 points up in Detroit to the Lions. And yes, the Lions scored 7 straight touchdowns on 7 straight possessions. 7.
Yeah.
That's right. 7.
Yeah.
It could have been way worse.
They could have, even if they didn't score touchdowns just by the extra points, they would have beat the Jags. So that's a problem. But yeah, I mean, this is the glaring look. You wanted to see what a good and bad team looks like. This is what it looks like. And there were the games that we've talked about. Oh, it was so close. It was so close. It's without quarterbacks. It's bad things happening. This is what your team has been this year, honestly. Like, this is what I have seen as the product on the field. And finally you get a game where you're like, oof, yep, that's what it's been. And they've just gotten a little lucky in other games to make it closer than what it was.
Let's not bury the lead. Here's the latest I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing.
Crickets.
Yeah.
Not crickets per se, but business as usual. I received my first text of the morning at 6:58 from folks involved with the Jaguars organization. I have spoken to not only people down there, I've spoken to people around the National Football League, and they are hearing the same thing. That, to me, speaks volumes. This idea of, look, as much as the folks in that building can say they're not listening to the outside noise all they want, you can't ignore the result on the field yesterday and that final score. You cannot escape it. It is a reflection of who you are. You are what your resume and what your record says you are. And right now, you are a 2-9 football team that just suffered the worst loss in franchise history. And by doing absolutely nothing and saying, oh, business as usual the next day, by allowing that, you're promoting that.
So you think Doug Peterson meets with the media at 1:45 today, not an interim head coach?
Nope. He meets with the media at 1:45. Players are scheduled to meet with reporters in the locker room in about 4 minutes. And my expectation is all of that will occur as previously scheduled. Because at this point in time,
Taylor and I both just went.
I mean, look, again, I've been up working the phone since 7 a.m., folks, and I apologize to all of you on X and on social media that have been, badgering and asking. Look, if I had something to report, I would. But I have literally exercised almost every channel that I possibly have, and I can tell you that they were basically all showed up to work and were told, yep, go ahead, just keep doing your job.
And to me, that it's business as usual is crickets, because that's not a real answer. That's just you trying to be like, okay, let's just push through this and hope that things are normal. Things aren't normal. Things aren't okay. The league is laughing at you right now because you just got your tails whooped and nothing, not even indication. There have been better coaches, better teams who have fired their coaches for way less. And it's honestly to the point where people are looking at you and being like, here's the Jags again. Here they go. And that you, at some point, we've been hoping that was going to change. And that narrative keeps coming back because the higher ups can't make the decisions when they need to make these decisions.
At some point, the egg on your face has to actually bear some consequence, right? Like, I mean, look, okay, I'm going to talk about it on the air. The clown movement, they're talking about it again. And respect to those at the building that say, well, we're above that. We don't allow ourselves to think about, people acting that. Those are the people that are paying for seats in your stadium. Yeah. And if that is the way they feel, you can try to lie to yourself and say it's a minority of the fan base. Sure. Okay, it's a minority that are actually going out and buying red noses on Amazon. Mm-hmm. But the majority want to see some sort of change. Take the football part out of it. If you run a business, to anyone out there, whether you run, I don't know, if it's a construction company, if it's a financial company, insurance company, whatever it is, if you were to lose in such epic fashion, if you were to lose so many clients, if you were to lose so many key projects that all of a sudden your investment is tanking, would you make a change? The answer is yes.
So you would have already made the change.
Yeah,
you wouldn't have even gotten to this point. That's the problem, is that they are at a point in time now that the players literally did not try yesterday. Like, there can't be a single person who watched that game and said, man, unlike the Vikings game, they gave it their all. They just weren't as talented at the end. They did not even try. So there is a black cloud over the organization, the franchise, and until Shad Khan makes changes, it's going to remain that way. But I do think, Mia, that they are listening to the outside noise in a sense, because when it comes to play calling, it feels like fans and media screamed, Brenton Strange needs to be more involved. Look, he was productive when they had the 2 tight ends on the field with 12 personnel there against the Packers. And then all of a sudden, we saw more Brenton Strange. We need to see more Tank Bigsby earlier in the season. And then you saw more Tank Bigsby. Brian Thomas Jr. needs to get the ball early and often. And all of a sudden, you got to, like, it does feel like they are listening to the outside noise, just not enough.
I do feel like they're getting forced into that a little bit, because you lose Christian Kirk and then now what looks like Gabe Davis too. And so they're kind of getting forced to where you don't have many other options and you have to do that. So I'm not even giving coaching staff credit for that, honestly. I feel like they have to. They have no other choice than to get to the ball to these people. So they're like, oh, well, now we got to go to Brent and we've got to go to BTJ, even though you should have been doing that for a long time, because I'm not giving any credit to this coaching staff right now. I'm not.
If the primary play caller is still who we believe the primary play caller is, he's listening to the outside world. And maybe he's not listening to you, the fans, but, I mean, this is a guy who, sits in his office and finds tape from some ESPN 3+ production of a D2 football game and tries to focus on cool plays that they're doing and bring them to the grounds of Everbank Stadium. So if that guy's doing that guy's paying attention to what people elsewhere are saying about the operation here in Jacksonville. I will just say that.
It felt to me after that game yesterday that by today there would be some clarity as to where the organization is moving forward. As we sit here right now, again, Doug Peterson meets with the media at 12:45. Players are in the locker room about to meet with media in 10 minutes. It feels like that is still going to happen. It just may not be today. Like, that's at least where the optimism that I'm going to have. Friday, I had the silly optimism that maybe Mac Jones not playing in Jacksonville was going to help this team. That was not even close to true. But the only optimism I can have now is that maybe Shad is just deciding later this week to make the move and that it's just not happening today. That's all I can sit here and hope.
I mean, I guess the positive is in your bye week, so you don't have to play this weekend. Like, for our sakes, honestly, like for our sake of just getting back to not having to talk about this. Maybe the players need that a little bit. Doug has talked about how banged up they are and how they need a break, and defensively especially. And so maybe just getting that on track, but also not having to worry about a game this weekend. It's not like, okay, well, if they wait until Thursday or Friday, then you have a game on Sunday, so you can still make that move and still have a week to go to game plan with whoever the interim is. But I really do hope, it's just, to this point, it's exhausting, and I feel like you're seeing it from around the entire fan base. The amount of, it's not even mad anymore. It's exhausted and disappointed.
It's apathetic.
Yeah.
I usually get a slew of texts during games, right? Good or bad for the Jags. You know how many texts I got during yesterday's game? None.
Yeah, because no one was watching.
No one
unless you had
cared.
to.
No, the apathy is so far-reaching over the care level at this point in time. I got 0 texts about how bad this team was. They literally weren't watching. They were enjoying the beautiful weather. Must be nice.
Yeah.
Jeremy Foley. What must be done eventually should be done immediately. And look, I am extremely appreciative of what Doug Peterson has done for this organization. I appreciate the stability that he brought in a time that this organization needed it, to at least bring them back into the conversation of being a respectable franchise. But ultimately, to your point, Lauren, what you saw on the field yesterday, while no player would go as far as to say that they saw quit, we haven't heard that word since the London trip, but there was quit out there.
Yeah.
Or apathy. If we don't want to use the Q word, because I know the Q word is like one of 2 words, soft being the other, that you can't use in football in the football dictionary. That would be the word I would use. Is the apathy from the fans was present on field, and once you have that, you cannot go back.
Yeah.
And that is where if you're Shad Khan, you can say, what good does it do for me to fire them now? Because then, does that suggest to the rest of does that say to the team, we're packing it up the rest of the way? No, I think that sets a standard. And if you believe that this is not the same old Jaguars, then by stepping in and saying that is unacceptable, then that is saying we don't operate down here anymore. We operate up here. That, I think, would be speaking even more volumes to the team that you do believe they could compete in the last 6 weeks of the season.
Well, it's a breath of fresh air, even if you know that the season is completely toast, which it is.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think if anything, it's opposite of packing your bags. It's saying that we do think the talent on this roster is better than what the product has been on the football field, and we think that the coaching is a reason for that. So let's give some sort of life into a team that we feel like needs a little bit of something right now. And you see it every year. Every year when a coach is fired, they get this breath of like, okay, now whatever was lingering, to your point, Lauren, the black cloud, whatever that black cloud that is just hanging over this team, at least gets a little less dark. And that doesn't mean all of a sudden you win 5 games straight. Like, I'm not saying that happens, but what it does say is that you are asking for accountability and you are showing that you expect more from this team, and what's been put on the football field has not been enough.
I feel like today in Jacksonville has to be the least productive day because everyone's been literally just refreshing their Twitter account over and over, X account over and over and over and over again.
Well,
probably
we've
as
got
many times as the yards scored by the Lions.
We've got 142 of you on YouTube. We got about 200 more on X. I know we had at one point, we had close to 1,000 of you between X and YouTube watching Jaguars today. So let's pump those numbers up. These are rookie numbers that we got right now for Helmets and Heels. We appreciate you guys. Leave a comment at the MyBookie Digital Studio or the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. I like this one from 233. It's a quote from none other Taylor than Lou Holtz.
Oh, I love it.
If you start doing what the fans want, you will end up sitting with them. And it's certainly an argument that can be made with regards to what we were alluding to with the players who have suddenly seen a spike in playing time. But perhaps that is the approach that Shad Khan is once again taking, for better or worse, that he doesn't want to give in to the angry mob. Because he believes that if you're a cooler, calmer head and you're looking at this from a 30,000-foot perspective, I don't know. If you're looking at a 30,000-foot perspective, I think you're seeing the same thing in my estimation, but perhaps he sees it differently.
The Colts benched their starting quarterback, went to a 39-year-old quarterback, went back to their starting quarterback who hasn't started many games because of injuries, and the Colts are, if you look at the graphics, quote-unquote, in the hunt.
Yep.
In the hunt. And yes, Mac Jones is not going to lead this team to where it needs to go. We all knew that, I think, prior to this. But certainly for the group of people that wanted to see Mac play and were frustrated with Trevor, there you go. But certainly the losing started even with Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. And we've had this conversation. Don't ruin 16. Do not let the coaching staff and the general manager who have surrounded him with obviously not enough talent and weapons continue to do this, or you are going to end up with a quarterback who never makes the postseason and certainly never makes a deep postseason run.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of us had been shouting this last week when we were sharing our thoughts on whether Trevor should continue the season or if they should just shut it down. And a lot of us said, the majority of the staff here, the video that went out was saying shut him down, and not shut him down because, the season's done and like Trevor can't help. Obviously, I think the Jags are better when Trevor's on the football field, but I also think you do not want to see more regression of Trevor. And I've mentioned it a lot that at the end of the 2022 season, at the end and heading into the playoffs, we saw the best Trevor that we have ever seen here in Jacksonville. And you don't want that to keep going backwards, because the more backwards it goes, the worse it's going to get. And sometimes it's hard to flip that back around, no matter who's hired next, no matter what's going on. But it starts at the top. And that's what I think the Jaguars have to focus on. Many, many people, we were talking about this in March. And back in March, Lauren, you asked, what does Trent Baalke have to do to prove to the fans that he's changed things? And I was like, I truly don't think it's ever going to happen. Like, I think that he can do the next 10 things right, but people are going to go back and look at all of the things that we feel like he's messed up and all of the decisions when it comes to even certain moments like this that have not gone right. And so the moment you feel like, yeah, he does 1 or 2 things right, he does 5 or 6 wrong. And I truly don't think, and I said it in March, he's never going to win over this fan base again. And we're right back in the same spot.
Yes, unfortunately we are. 645 yards yesterday by the Lions. It was a disaster. It was embarrassing. It was humiliating. And the fact that nothing's been done yet is honestly shocking to me. All right, it's a Big Chief Tire Monday. As always, you can find them online at WeKeepJacksRollin.com. Had lunch with Kelsey and Reed last week. It was fantastic. They are wonderful people. So if you need tires, alignments, oil changes, go visit one of their 5 locations around town. It's a Big Chief Tire. We've got more to do on the other side. Because it's helmets and heels, I kind of want to ask the question, when does the shoe drop?
There you go.
But I feel like we've already discussed that. But no, we have more to do on the other side on 10 to Next on 92.5 FM.
We live the best moments from the weekend's games.
That's what superstars do.
Post-game Monday.
Expert analysis of Sunday's game all day.
Brought to you by Dandy Foods, makers of quality fresh sandwiches and home of the good stuff on 1010XL.
Mia here, and when I was buying a new construction home last summer, there was no question. Dreamfinders Homes was the builder for me. A big reason why, they're unbeatable interest rates. Right now, you can take advantage of a 2.99% year one rate. Wow. Find your dream home, take advantage of unbeatable rates, and move in today. I'll say it again, 2.99% year one rate. Dreamfinders Homes, the official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
This is Tony Baselli, Pro Football Hall of Famer. I was known for protecting our quarterback. These days, I'm extending that protection to a different arena, your home. I have partnered with Heritage Roofing of North Florida, your premier local roofers with over 25 years of experience. Heritage is your go-to roofer for hurricane preparation with same-day inspections and estimates. They also work with all insurance companies. Let Heritage Roofing of North Florida safeguard your home and family. Visit heritagenfl.com for your free estimate today.
State license CCC 1335410.
Have you or someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI and all criminal offenses. I've been named the best DUI attorney in the state, and David has been named the best criminal defense lawyer in Jacksonville. In your battle with the justice system, there is only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins. 354-5645.
Hey guys, Taylor Dahl here of Helmets and Heels. The Chick-fil-A Peppermint Chip Milkshake is a holiday tradition that's back for another season. Hand-spun the old-fashioned way, this festive peppermint-flavored milkshake is made with Chick-fil-A ice cream dessert and features chips of crunchy peppermint bark. It's minty, merry, and topped with whipped cream and cherry when served in stores. Order in Chick-fil-A app now or visit your local Chick-fil-A restaurant.
In its final year, we encourage you to help create great futures for young people when you run or walk at Mackenzie's Run, Saturday, November 23rd. Join Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Florida for a 5K and 1 mile fun run through the beautiful stadium course at TPC Sawgrass. Enjoy food, live music, face painting, family fun, and more at our Runners Village. Register at mackenziesrun.org. Mackenzie's 5K and Fun Run, November 23rd. mackenziesrun.org.
It's a Big Chief Tire Monday, the local Jacksonville shop for fair prices and service you can trust.
Oh my God. Oh, what's that horrible smell? Sorry. We've been waiting forever to have our septic tank pumped.
Call Duck Duck Rooter. We don't make you wait. When you're stuck, call the duck. DuckDuckRooter.com.
Stop letting high-interest debt weigh you down. Pay it all off in days thanks to Loan Pronto's new Rapid Equity Loan. Hey, it's Prosser here. Imagine a completely hassle-free way to cash out your home equity. No appraisals, no paperwork, no waiting. Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan uses an AI-driven tech to get you approved for cash in as little as one day. One client got $100,000 approved in under 24 hours, wiped out their debt, launched the home improvement project, and is now saving over $1,000 a month. Instant approvals, low fixed rates, fast transfers. Get cash to consolidate all your debt and get a fresh start to the new year. Call Loan Pronto now and see how much you qualify for. Imagine this time next week, you can be credit card debt-free. Call 904-999-1508 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 904-999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781 on approved credit, MLSconsumeraccess.org.
I-9 Sports covers the First Coast with great sports for kids 3 to 17, and winter and spring registration is open right now. New girls volleyball and flag at Duval Charter, plus plenty for boys and girls in Nocatee, too. It's all at i9sports.com. Enter 1010 in the promo code.
Dr. Kevin Murphy with Southeast Orthopedic Specialist congratulating our Scholar Athlete of the Week,
Robert Trenier, senior cross country and member of the boys track team at Fletcher High. Robert is a member of the National Honor Society and has applied to attend the United States Military Academy at West Point.
Now, the Randy Marion Cadillac Drive of the Game. Randy Marion Cadillac of Jacksonville. Drive to the game in luxury with Randy Marion Cadillac of Jacksonville.
The Young Guns look to make a fast start while in enemy territory, and they'd complete that game plan to a T and get on the board early. Thanks to a 9-play sequence capped off by a 59-yard Cam Little field goal, Jacksonville took a 3-0 lead with 9:36 left in the first quarter. The 29-yard drive is your Randy Marion Cadillac Drive of the Game.
Hey, John, are you ready to cruise into the holidays in style?
Absolutely. The King of Price has incredible offers that you won't want to miss.
That's right. Buy a brand new 2024 Escalade and receive a $3,000 rebate.
Or if leasing is more your style, you can choose a 2024 Escalade or a 2025 Lyric and receive a $1,000 rebate.
It's the perfect time to upgrade your ride and make this holiday season unforgettable.
Visit us at Randy Marion Cadillac on Southside Boulevard in Jacksonville. Plus tax tag title $899 admin fee and resist all on approved credit.
Tell them Jennifer sent ya.
Elbow pain, whether acute or chronic, can make it difficult to do normal activities like playing sports, doing household chores, or even sleeping comfortably. Dr. George Barr here, and no one wants to deal with pain without solutions on how to feel better. We've all heard of tennis and golfer's elbow, but there's plenty more that can cause pain, like osteoarthritis, muscle tears, and nerve entrapment. All are treatable at Barr Orthopedics. Getting you back to full health is our mission, and there's a number of different treatment options we can offer. Call us today or visit barrorthopedics.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
Taylor Dahl, Mia O'Brien, RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks with you on this, what feels like a Black Monday, but so far it's not. It's just a Big Chief Tire Monday. And if you need anything automotive, visit them online, wekeepjacksrollin.com. So if you were Shad Khan, Mia and Taylor, I'm going to guess that this morning or last night or right after the game, you would have decided to part ways with head coach Doug Peterson, probably offensive coordinator Press Taylor, maybe defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen and general manager Trent Baalke. Is that what y'all would have done?
Yeah, I would have done all three. I mean, you probably could do all four, but
Who would you leave of the four?
You probably have to leave. I mean, because here's the thing: is like if you well, no, because here's the thing: is like if you were to remove Ryan Nielsen, then Chris Richard would become your defense coordinator, and they have, of course, in their own words, been the yin to each other's yang. And so, how much of a difference is that, other than to once again say, to my point in the opening segment, the idea of this was unacceptable, but it doesn't actually change all that much. I do think that there could be something said for, because they are yin to the yang. One is much more in your face and one is not. And maybe that is something that could be invited and could be something that would be welcomed by the players. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's something that maybe they wouldn't welcome. I don't know the answer to that. But that would be the one that I'm probably the least sure about. Now, as a couple of our Heeligans have brought up on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures, who's to say at 1:45, when Doug Peterson meets with reporters, that he doesn't announce that there has been a coordinator change.
I said last week we'd be shocked if that was the case.
Again,
or offensive coordinator, I should say.
Correct. I will just tell you, trust me, I have been talking to people all morning that are in that building. It has been status quo. I think by now we would have heard if his feet were put to the fire and Press Taylor was given his walking papers. We would have heard about it by now. I just don't think that's the case. And that's where, if the solution is, well, Doug's going to take over play calling now. Doug is the same one who stood there and said, well, Press is calling my playbook. He's calling games the way I would have called it. I don't know what
but
that
is that him just defending Press, though? Like, just trying not to make it.
Maybe.
He's defended press his whole career, and that's why he's here.
Right.
But
if you're Shad, you should know that that's coming.
Yeah.
And so that's not a solution either.
But it is interesting, too, because to your point, like if they just, let's say, fire Nielsen, then fans are like, what the heck? Like, we get it, but we already fired the defensive coach last year, and the defense got worse, honestly. And then now we have this team that can't even score a touchdown and can't hardly get into the red zone at this point. Hasn't been able to convert in the red zone or on third downs for almost a solid year now, and we still aren't making changes offensively. So I don't think one guy is going to make people happy right now, especially.
No, nothing's going to make anyone happy. I mean, well, let me rephrase. If word got out that both head coach and GM were fired, people at least would be happier.
Yes.
They're still not going to be able to watch.
There
a
would
good
be
football
celebrating
team the rest of these. I still can't believe 6 games left on the schedule. But yeah, that would at least make some people happier. But you don't make changes to make the fans necessarily happy. You make changes because you think that's going to help your football team, whether it's this season or moving forward. And now that I take the step back and look at this football team as it was constructed and the way that they collapsed at the end of last season, they probably should have done more than fire just the defensive coordinator and Mike Caldwell. They probably should have taken a hard look. Shad should have taken a hard look at both the GM and the head coach after that and said, this is unacceptable. And if you had said it then who knows where we'd be now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, I said that all off season. I've said for years I wasn't a fan of Trent, and things need to get fixed after this draft. I said this made me not like him even more. But I just think that when you look at it, they go back and they make these excuses over and over and over again of why, and they thought that the defensive change was going to be enough. They thought that, okay, well, you add Gabe Davis and you add Brian Thomas Jr., who obviously is probably one of the best highlights that we've been able to have, is at least you do have BTJ. But in the same realm, you're looking at a team that the defensive tackle play has been the worst in the NFL, and you go and you sign Eric Armstead, playing him on the wrong position. You spend 3 draft picks on defensive tackles. They're not playing, or they're not playing well, and it's just problem after problem when it comes to Trent Baalke in this way. And then he makes like one good draft pick and they think it's okay, and that erases everything else. And then it's just this trickle down from there. You have a head coach who, for whatever reason, won't do anything about his offensive coordinator, and that's clearly been a problem. Press should have been gone at the end of last year. It should have been Mike Caldwell and Press Taylor gone after last year, and they didn't. And then now you look worse. You look like a worse football team who has spent more money on their roster, who has paid long-term players now at this point, including a franchise quarterback, and you look like the worst team in the NFL.
And that's where, if you are that franchise quarterback, he's a competitor.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. If he is eligible to play, I believe he will try to find a way to play. But I don't know if in good faith, if you're his representation, if you're his camp, can you allow him to go out there and play in a system that, to your point earlier, Taylor, is allowing him to regress and puts him at risk of further injury? And look, I understand every time you walk on a football field, you are putting yourself at risk of injury. I respect that. But ultimately, again, it feels like one step forward for 2 steps back if he's to come back. And look, I'm not to say if Mike McCoy is installed as the interim head coach or the offensive play caller, and all of a sudden now everything's going to be hunky-dory. If anything, it may take a further step back. But at the same time, if it allows for 16 to play more freely, if it's what he wants, I can't help but feel like Shad Khan needs to be taking. And I understand there are those of you who say, no, he's the quarterback, he's a player, he needs to just sit back and dribble or whatever you want to say. But I feel like whatever opinion he has, I've said it before and I'll say it again, outside of the stadium and the Shipyards project, he is the largest financial investment that Shad Khan has made in the city of Jacksonville. And so that should be taken into consideration.
It's very strange with Trevor that the first week after the injury, the shoulder injury, which he finished the game playing, and then he was questionable, and looked like it was going to be a game time decision, and then this week completely ruled out. Like, that's not a normal injury timeline.
Trajectory, yeah.
So if it's up to me, I'm not playing him another snap if it can cause further injury. I don't know. I don't think he'd regress even more this season necessarily just because he doesn't have a couple of guys that he would love to have, obviously, in the lineup. I don't think that he'd regress. I think any playing time is good. But if it can cause further injury, absolutely not. Like, this season is 100% over.
Yeah.
There is no going back. So if you're not going to win and make the postseason, what's the point?
Yeah, see, in my mind, I go back to the end of last year and him trying to play through all of those injuries and not being able to practice the whole time. I do think he regressed during that time because you're not out there with your team practicing, or you're practicing halfway. And I do think in that sense, and then you're playing scared the entire game because you don't want to get re-injured because you're worried about that. And so I think that does factor in for decisions for Trevor, because since the Bengals game last year, it's been ugly. And not saying he hasn't had moments, because he has, but he's also had a lot of bad moments where we're like, okay, this is not the Trevor we saw a couple years ago. So I think in that sense, you don't want to force a quarterback to play in a situation that is just utter disaster right now. And while he's been pretty much, I feel like, banged up for 3 months straight now, if you go back to December.
In much happier, funnier news, Billy Napier is meeting with the media, and he said that his sons have been very critical of him hitting the gritty after Florida beat LSU. He said the players asked for it, so therefore that's why he did it. Maybe he'll do better next time if you didn't see the post-game video. Obviously, he was dancing, and so he said his sons were making fun of him. But, yeah, you want to talk some college football?
Yeah, let's give a round of applause, RJ, for Billy Napier, because
he saved my weekend. I never thought I would say that.
And it was an engaging, exciting, up-tempo game that, you know what? You needed a winning play in crunch time. Jaden Baugh, of course, who Lauren has been stumping for since April, was the one who delivered it. But that speaks to development. That is the opposite of regression.
Yes. Run the dang ball.
That's what's, and it's a guy who he wasn't even the featured tailback in this game. Jacoby Jackson was. Yeah. And that's what was so encouraging, is that this was a guy who wasn't even getting quote unquote lathered up, and he was still able to step right in and rip off the go ahead score. And that for me speaks to buy-in across the board. I walked away from watching that Florida LSU game, and I said, that is a team, for better or worse, they are bought into Billy Napier.
Yeah, if you watched Florida, Texas, you knew that Florida had no chance because of the quarterback.
Yeah.
I was terrified about LSU because I thought DJ Lagway, even if he played, wasn't going to be healthy. But certainly that is a guy that is just an insane athlete with what he's able to do, the flick of his wrist when he throws the football. So we'll get into college football. There's more to do on Helmets and Heels on a Big Chief Tire Monday on 10 to Next on 92.5 FM.
Joe C. for Blossman Gas. They've been providing hometown service and the comforts of propane to home and businesses since 1951. Imagine movie night spent around glowing gas fireplace logs, cookouts in the backyard with your propane grill, or laundry done faster with your gas dryer. Blossman has a wide variety of gas appliances to fit your needs. Propane delivery, gas appliances, and a full-service team. Blossman Gas is your local company for everything propane. Blossman Gas, log on, blossmangas.com, and check out the Blossman difference.
Mia here for MyBookie. Hope everyone had a profitable betting weekend. Monday Night Football tonight, where we have an old-fashioned Texas duel as the Houston Texans travel to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. Both of these teams have had major injuries and have been pretty terrible of late. This game smells like a slog and definitely could go under the 42.5 over-under game total. Who would have thought the Cowboys are 7.5-point underdogs at home? Joe Mixon likely going to be running and catching passes all over the boys in this game. I'm looking to bet a same-game parlay and put my chips all in on Mixon for an anytime touchdown and bet the over on Mixon's receiving yardage. Guys, MyBookie has the best sign-up bonus in the industry for Florida bettors. Our listeners could sign up and use promo code 1010XL to claim a bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit up to $1,000. That's promo code 1010XL to claim your double deposit bonus for Monday Night Football. Bet anywhere, anytime, and make your season a winning season with MyBookie.
Jaguars fans, want to meet some of your favorite players? Coke Florida, Publix Supermarkets, and the Jags are giving you the chance. Join 1010XL at Publix, 170 Village Commons Drive, St. Augustine, Tuesday, November 19th at 5. For autographs, pictures, raffles, and more. Get off the sidelines and get to Publix to grab an ice-cold Coca-Cola, Coke Zero Sugar, or any of your favorite Coca-Cola beverages using Publix digital app. The Jaguars and Coke Florida. There's magic when we cheer together at Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Big Chief Tire Monday on Helmets and Heels.
Injured in an accident? Have mounting medical bills? Can't work? Don't worry. Zach's got your back. I'm Zach Von Rowan of Von Rowan Law. I will fight for the compensation that you deserve. Set up your free consultation at zachsgotyourback.com.
Value or flavor? Price or taste? Why choose when you can get both with everyday deals at Sunny's? Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, and all you can eat ribs for just $19.99. Yep, you heard right. All your favorites are now available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue. Local pitmaster since 68.
Post-game Monday on 1010XL is brought to you by Dandy Foods, makers of quality fresh sandwiches and home of the good stuff.
Hey, Jaguars fans, as the official whiskey of the NFL, it's not a kickoff without the generous spirit of Crown Royal. And that's why we've built the Crown Royal Rig. An absurdly awesome 18-wheeler delivering the generous spirit to stadiums and tailgates across the country. Follow the Royal Rig on its journey from city to city, bringing together local cuisine, NFL legends, and the opportunity to pack a purple bag for charity and win tickets to Super Bowl 59. Visit crownroyal.com for rules and more, and please drink responsibly.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. Are the company's Zoom calls getting boring? Might be a good time to order some new logo caps or temporary tattoos. Check them out online at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all. This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On November 18, 1964, Baltimore Orioles third baseman Brooks Robinson, Baseball Hall of Famer, wins American League MVP.
Hey Jacksonville, it's Lauren Brooks for Big Chief Tire. Right now, Big Chief is offering 6-month financing with their CFNA card, plus $50 off your first purchase. With no interest for 6 months, it's the perfect time to take care of your vehicle's needs, whether that's new tires, brakes, or other services. Their skilled technicians are here to help get you back on the road safely and affordably. Visit WeKeepJacksRollin.com or call 904-932-0950 to apply and take advantage of this great deal. Big Chief Tire keeps Jacks rolling.
Clean air, cool air, both are extremely important. Trust Florida Home AC to deliver on both with their Remy Halo, the next generation of air quality technology. Call 777-4300 for Florida Home AC and breathe clean and cool air.
Hey, it's Angela and Brian Wall. How many companies do you know in this day and age that actually want their potential customers to call their competition and get quotes from them?
That's what WonderWorld wants you to do. WonderWorld knows there are other window companies out there, but we also know those other guys. When compared to WonderWorld, they can't offer you the quality at the price that WonderWorld can.
And with WonderWorld, you get the absolute best guarantee there is in the window replacement business.
If anything goes wrong with your new WonderWorld windows, 5 years from now, 10, 15, 50, WonderWorld and I will be there to fix it for you. You get peace of mind with WonderWorld, and to top it off, WonderWorld windows increase the value of your home. So look what you get with WonderWorld. Quality windows, low price, the best guarantee in the business, energy savings, and an increase in the value of your home. A win-win for you.
Call WonderWorld today and get your free in-home estimate, or see them online at WonderWorldNEFlorida.com.
WonderWorld, simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors.
Sports fans, JJ LaSalva here. When I need to send my bride flowers or a plant for birthdays or anniversaries, I always go with Kuhn Flowers. After all, they've been the leading florist in these parts for over 75 years. You can always rely on Kuhn Flowers.
This is Dr. Steve Crenshaw, Assistant Team Physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jaguars, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Mike Dempsey this morning on Jaguars Today, with reaction to Sunday's 52-6 loss at Detroit.
Should never give up 475 yards in a game. The Jags got outgained by 475 yards yesterday. Third largest total in NFL history, not franchise history, NFL history. Largest margin of defeat for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Arguably the worst game in the history of the franchise. I mean, honestly, I say arguably because somebody might pull one out and say, well, this is bad as well. Yes, there are other ones bad. I don't know if there's anything worse than what we saw yesterday.
Mike Dempsey this morning on Jaguars Today. I'm Andrew Gibson with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Helmets and Heels is switched on by
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor on 1010XL.
Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. There was happiness in the world of college football over the weekend. The Florida Gators defeated the LSU Tigers, and I thought it was an electric swamp. And also Georgia came up huge winners as Carson Beck had another really impressive game, certainly a bounce-back game for him, redemption for the Dogs as they take down the Volunteers, and also a very loud Between the Hedges game. And look, at the end of the day, we now have Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Texas A&M all 8-2 in the SEC.
That's wild. Yeah.
My goodness. And it better not be a coin flip when we get down to it.
No. I was actually talking to some friends this morning because I have family, actually my stepsister. She went to South Carolina, diehard South Carolina fan, and she had posted like the SEC rankings. And so they have Texas, Ole Miss, and South Carolina. And she was like, they don't have any, actually, I guess, current wins against ranked teams because the teams that they played, like Michigan, Oklahoma, were ranked when they played them, but they're not ranked anymore. Vandy, Oklahoma, and Michigan are their three, ranked that they've beaten, and their one losses to Georgia. So I was like, but they only have one loss, and their one losses to Georgia. So it's kind of hard to argue that right now. But they have Texas A&M the final week of the season. So that, to me, that's a big game for Texas.
I'm just very curious where Brian Kelly goes from here.
Oh, my goodness.
Hell?
Did you... ouch.
Wow, I opened a can of worms there. I didn't think I was quite doing that when I said those two words, Brian Kelly.
Were you watching the game live when he screamed at his player?
He's awful.
I mean, not just yelled at him, but you could literally read the words that were coming out of his mouth. And there were multiple F-bombs to a guy, multiple players, but in the one instance I saw, this Mason Taylor, Jason's son, if I was him, I would be like, I'm out.
I would like to give a shout out to the Gators social team for not only an incredible job digging up Brian Kelly's Monday, I'm assuming it was Monday, speech to the LSU team when he talked about that song that they're going to sing at the start of the fourth quarter.
Which is Won't Back Down by Tom Petty.
But then the fact that they had the foresight to film Brian Kelly singing Won't Back Down as the Gator faithful sang it in the stadium on Saturday night. I mean, just incredible troll work all around. The fact that they also had the cojones to literally post the meme of him banging the table in Las Vegas and say, please don't break our tables, coach. We're not holding back. And I'm here for it in the state of Florida.
That's what winning can do for you, for your social team, for sure. Certainly when it comes to Florida, that's a rivalry that it's not the top of Florida's rivalry. Certainly it's not the top of LSU's rivalry. But that is a rivalry. And so these two teams do not like each other. We all know the last time that Florida was close to winning, it feels like, was the Marco Wilson game, or that's at least when the tide turned.
Who just got cut, by the way.
Yeah, he did. I thought that was such irony.
I know.
But yeah, look, at the end of the day, Florida was able to do something that it hasn't done in a long time, getting 7 sacks and getting such pressure to Garrett Nussmeier and the LSU offense. Florida also was able to get production from guys that most of them are going to be back next year. And that's huge for Napier as well. And so it's why, as y'all know, for so long, I was like, let's just not focus on Billy Napier and whether or not he's going to get fired. Let's talk about these games each week and see what happens. Because what if Florida upsets Ole Miss? It's a 9.5-point line in favor of the Rebels in the Swamp. What if Florida beats Ole Miss? Does everyone still want Lane Kiffin at that point in time?
I mean, it's honestly a good question because I do think that there will still be people that will still want Billy fired because I do think that some of the in-game things they'll still say, okay, well, we could have won some of these other ones if it was with a different coach. So it will be fascinating to see what it looks. Yeah, I know. It will be fascinating to see at the end of the season, especially with this end stretch and how difficult their schedule has been. And we've talked about that a lot preseason, but even during the season of, okay, when the losses are against really good football teams. So you have to kind of account for that at times. But also, if you want to be the Florida, that SEC Florida team that you've talked about in the past, then those games are games you win eventually again.
I think what's also important to note is the amount of players who were out for this game, especially when we talk about Florida on defense. The fact that Pup Howard was out, Jakeem Jackson, Jason Marshall, once upon a time was supposed to be a first-round draft pick.
And he had a great season until he had the injury, the season-ending injury.
You're without Trey Wilson, who was supposed to be arguably your best offensive player. Wasn't so in the limited action that we saw him in this year, but certainly is a player on the rise. Asa Turner was a transfer who was supposed to be the leader of your secondary. Devin Moore was supposed to take a huge leap in year 2. You were without major starting factors on both sides of the ball. Montrell Johnson had what? I'll pull it up. What, a grand total of what? 3 carries? 2 carries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I told you on Friday Bridges was going to have to switch from safety to corner because they were so depleted at the corner position. And so, yeah, what Napier was able to do in the staff, look.
That's why I don't think he gets fired.
No, from the outside looking in, everyone expected him to get fired because this Florida fan base is so toxic. Well, look at the sold out Swamp every week and tell me it's a toxic fan base. It's not. But they do expect to win. And now that they are seeing the progressions, then I think that's when Florida fans say, okay, I'm still going to support this guy because I can see that he is a talented developer. He does know how to evaluate talent. And now he's starting to make some better in-game coaching decisions.
Here's, again, I just go back to what I said off the top. It's not just that they won. It's that those players look like they believe in him and they will fight for him.
For sure.
I don't know if that's the right decision on those young men's part, but I can tell you the fact that he has them bought in and it is translating, if only for this season, it's translating into wins. Yes, I do believe that is what should earn him another year at the helm.
I think because, Mia, he's genuine. And there are so many people in life, not just football, but in life,
Kelly,
that you realize like they are selling you a bag of goods, and who they are behind closed doors is not who they are when they're in front of a podium. Or, you know, this group of gentlemen understands that they'd rather keep fighting for this guy than have a whole new coaching regime as well. And I think that's what it speaks to, is that Napier is who he is.
Yeah.
And the whole scared money don't make money, that part didn't exactly translate, but he is 100% a guy that I think is willing to fight for them. And so they were willing to fight for him. Meanwhile, in Athens, Georgia basically just destroyed Tennessee. It looked, when I first started watching
it was tied at half. It was tied at half.
Well, it was 10-0 Tennessee to start, and it was like, okay, Georgia is in for a dogfight. And then in the second half, the better team won out. And look, Tennessee with Nico Iamaleava, he's not exactly this quarterback that I think should be paid $8 million over the course of his career. He's not there yet.
Yeah.
But it was Carson Beck that I felt like had such redemption.
Yeah, and that's what the one reason I didn't pick them was because of him. And I was waiting for the game where I felt like we saw the Carson that could be Carson, and I felt like it had been a while. And this was the game where finally you're like, okay, this is where you start seeing those moments of how we talked about Carson Beck preseason and what he could potentially be. This is a game where I felt like we did finally see that when he's not making mistakes. And I think that is his biggest issue. And I want to go back to, if you relate it to Garrett Nussmeier too. Garrett Nussmeier has games where he looks absolutely incredible, but the games where he's under pressure and he makes one mistake, that one mistake turns into three really quick. And Carson Beck's kind of the same way. If Carson Beck, if you give him some time and you are able to run the ball a little bit, it definitely calms him down a little bit and he's not so much in his head. And that's the games where you're like, okay, this is what you can be. And so it was like good for him because that's the game that I've kind of wanted to see. I just was genuinely worried for a few weeks because I wasn't seeing any glimpses of that.
And I thought,
stepped up,
I thought what was interesting too, and I felt it in the moment, and I love that he said it post game when he scrambled in the second quarter. And he spoke with reporters afterwards, and Carson said he wanted to showcase why he was considered a dual threat quarterback coming out of Mandarin High School.
Yeah.
But it also was the juice that he needed. That 14-yard run was that little bit of, I'm still that
here.
guy. Yeah. And sometimes that's all it takes.
We saw, honestly, relating it back to Trevor Lawrence, when he was in college and he was playing against, I think it was Ohio State. He had this massive hit one time he was scrambling, and then all of a sudden the rest of the game he played even better. Sometimes quarterbacks like to not necessarily get hit, but they like to run the ball and open things up a little bit. The Heisman race continues to be interesting. You have Travis Hunter, who's now the best odds. Watch that Colorado game. Colorado was winning that easily. But Travis Hunter is still a guy playing both ways. That's fun to watch. And then, of course, Ashton Genty, too.
Yeah, he's insane.
He just, every week, is going to give you over 150 yards and 3 touchdowns is what it feels like.
Yeah, he's so much fun to watch. And I think that I was hearing Dan and Jeff talk about the Heisman race, and Jeff was kind of talking about how Travis Hunter's interception was just kind of like a tipped, ended up being kind of a lucky interception, not a play by Travis Hunter. And so when people kind of see those numbers, sometimes that's why they think and not saying he said he's a really, really good player, but there are those moments when he's in the secondary where you're like, right place, right time, which is cool. With Genty, you're just full on seeing this kid that is a really, really, really good running back. And I know because it's not the Big Ten, when we were talking about that Caleb Johnson conversation a few weeks ago, I guess people aren't paying as much attention, but they should. Because when you watch him, he's just incredible.
The odds are actually, I mean, look, Hunter's a heavy favorite. He's minus 649 on MyBookie right now. Ashton Genty, though, is plus 189, so it's a little bit closer than many books would like for you to believe. What's interesting to me, Cam Ward's still the third best odds on my bookie at plus 700. Dylan Gabriel at plus 1175. Certainly narrowly escaping the grasp of the Badgers of Wisconsin. Camp Randall, it comes back alive on a Saturday night. That's probably the reason he's fallen there.
Yeah.
The fifth best odds for the Heisman Trophy, Curtis Rourke.
Well, that will either take a swan dive on Saturday or
skyrocket
to the top because Indiana takes on Ohio State. And that game,
we had a coaching extension there, too.
Yep. Signetti got an 8-year extension. Yep. I never preseason ever thought I would be saying these words on air. I can't wait to watch Indiana, Ohio State on Saturday, and I'm not talking about men's basketball.
Hey, I'm glad it's a noon game, baby. Let's get it started.
It's also the same time as Florida Ole Miss.
That's why you got two TVs, folks.
Of course, but I like to sometimes lock into these things, and that's the only annoying thing. By the way, as far as Colorado and Boise State, talking about the Heisman, Colorado finishes the season at Kansas and then playing host to Oklahoma State. Meanwhile, Boise State at Wyoming and then plays host to Oregon State. Both of those teams can finish the season undefeated.
Yeah.
I don't think the wins-losses affect the Heisman Trophy race, in other words.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And that's what I feel like most seasons, at least the last few seasons, it kind of felt like you knew by now who was kind of leading towards that Heisman race. But this year's
quarterback.
Fun. I know, but this year's fun because it's obviously Cam Ward with that third spot, but then you're looking at a dual guy, a wide receiver corner, and you're looking at a running back. I'm like, give me this fight in college.
Right, I'd rather change it up for me. I'm tired of it being a quarterback award. And look, the year that Devontae Smith won it, I think it was largely because, look, for Trevor Lawrence, it was a Lifetime Achievement Award for him to be the runner-up.
Yeah.
Kyle Trask, with all due respect, wasn't even the best Kyle on his team, but he was the quarterback of a team that made the SEC championship game. And Mac Jones was the quarterback of the team that the Heisman Trophy winner came from. And also you could make the argument that there were several other talented wide receivers who should have been also in that virtual trophy ceremony once upon a time. So
Jalen Waddle would have won the Heisman that year, but he got hurt, and then it went to his teammate.
Right, exactly. And so that's why I look at it, and I'm just like, let's change it up.
I know.
I'd rather have some parity.
We also on Saturday, Mia, have Army Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Top 25 matchup, undefeated Army taking on Notre Dame. Navy was once upon a time undefeated, but they are no longer.
That's a 7:00 kick, though. That got the primetime treatment on NBC.
I don't think we've had one regular time game. It's been everything at 3:30 or 7.
I love either noon or 3:30. I hate the late games. I hate waiting around. I hate being nervous all day. So I'm excited for noon.
It should be noted, Lauren. So Curtis Rourke has the 5th best odds to win the Heisman. Do you know who has the 10th best odds? It's not Carson Beck. It's not Quinn Ewers.
It's not DJ Uyunglele.
Bryson Daly of Army has the 10th best odds to win the Heisman, according to my bookie. Those are better odds than Dylan Sampson, Will Howard, the aforementioned Ewers, Jeremiah Smith, Beck, Riley Leonard, Caleb Johnson. Better odds than all of them.
Well, he's certainly going to have a big test on Saturday up in South Bend. All right, when we return, I want to give a shout out to local soccer teams, and also we'll talk more NFL. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on a Big Chief Tire Monday. Find them online at wekeepjacksrollin.com. It's 1010XL 92.5 FM.
The game where every yard counts. One player's performance stands out.
That's what you want from a leader.
Universal Roofing Contracting presents the Offensive Player of the Game.
Touchdown, what a throw.
On 1010XL. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Mia here for my friends at Projax Roofing. Meteorological hurricane season doesn't end until November 30th. If your roof took on any damage at all during Hurricane Milton or Hurricane Helene, know that Projax Roofing is here to help. From the smallest of repairs to full roof replacements, my friend Mike has been serving all of Northeast Florida for 25 years. Well, we hope there won't be any more action in the Caribbean through the next few weeks, and we hope everyone stayed safe during those other 2 storms. If you do need any help with your roof, call Projax Roofing at 904-338-1722 or online at projaxroofingfl.com.
It's Thanksgiving week, and Monahan Jewelers has the best deals in town with up to 40% off the entire store. Thousands of beautiful pieces are all on sale with fantastic prices on our entire inventory, including up to 30% off on GIA certified diamonds. We're your local family jeweler, so come visit us today and on Small Business Saturday for up to 40% off on diamond studs, engagement rings, colored gemstones, our designer brands, custom design, everything. The name you can trust in fine jewelry, Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
You want to know what 3 little words everyone wants to hear, especially this time of the year? Toyotathon is on. I like the sound of that, and it's going on now at Arlington Toyota. Mia here, Arlington's lot is packed with hundreds of new Toyotas, and they're all marked with Toyotathon savings. How big are those savings? How about financing as low as 0% on select new Toyota models? 0%! When was the last time you heard the word zero? But before you get all caught up in the frenzy like me, remember that with every new Toyota purchase at Arlington, you get the benefit of their 60-day exchange program. That's 60 days to love your purchase or exchange it for one that you do for total buying confidence. Plus, every new purchase from Arlington comes with Arlington's lifetime warranty. That's unlimited time and miles. So where should you get your Toyotathon savings? From Arlington Toyota. With a 4.7 out of 5-star rating and over 21,000 Google reviews, they do Toyotathon right. Shop in person, 10939 Atlantic Boulevard, or online at arlingtontoyota.com.
Don't make a bad call when it comes to servicing your home. Cooling off with a baby pool in the house to fix your air conditioning problem is a bad call. Trying to catch a wave in a flooded bathroom is a bad call. Using a burning electrical panel to make s'mores is a bad call. The next time something goes wrong, make a good call to Donovan.
Whether you need air, electric, or plumbing service, Donovan is always a good call. It's why we've been trusted by our customers for almost 40 years and why you can trust us to deliver fast, reliable service to your home. Donovan, always a good call.
Visit DonovanAC.com today.
Universal Roof and Contracting presents the Offensive Player of the Game. Universal Roof and Contracting. The difference is universal.
Brian Thomas Jr. showed no quit on Sunday while in the Motor City. The teal and black wideout recorded 82 yards on 5 receptions, averaging 16 yards per reception. The young rookie was simply everywhere for Jacksonville on the offensive side of the ball and is your Universal Roof and Contracting Offensive Player of the Game.
Break in the savings this fall with Universal Roof and Contracting. Enjoy 15% off all roof repairs and replacements, plus a free wind mitigation inspection. With financing options as low as $115 a month, protecting your home has never been easier. Schedule your free roof inspection today. Call 855-ROOF-HELP. Offer expires November 30th. Protect your home and your wallet.
License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
Navy Mutual was created by service members for service members, so we know what it means to serve. Our policies have no active duty service restrictions, so you can rest assured that you're covered no matter your duty station, home or abroad. To go even further, we promise that premiums will not be higher for those who serve in dangerous environments, including aviation, diving, or on deployments. Let us help you protect those you love the most. Learn more at NavyMutual.org.
It's a Helmets and Heels Big Chief Tire Monday.
When it comes to selling your home, it can be stressful. Take the stress out with my friends, Chad and Sandy Newman. Maybe you're worried you won't sell your home for the price you need. How's this for a guarantee? Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they'll buy it. No required costs and repairs. Pick your move date. There are no long-term contracts, and you can cancel at any time. Mortgage rates are down, creating more active buyers and sellers. And if you've been waiting, now is a great time to sell your home. Take Kim in Palm Coast. I needed to move closer to family ASAP, but I had to sell my Palm Coast home first. I tried and failed with another agent. So my family said, you got to call Chad and Sandy. Well, sure enough, as promised, Chad and Sandy did it. They sold my home in 3 days, above asking price. Call the local Jacksonville experts I trust and recommend. Call Chad and Sandy today at 904-414-6200 or go to chadandsandy.com. That's Chad, ANDSANDY.com.
Hello, this is Father Nicholas Slow, and I want to talk to you today about having a grateful spirit. As we journey in life, it's so easy to take things for granted. But I want to encourage you to never get tired of thanking God for your blessings. Take time also to thank the people in your life who have and are helping you to become the person you are today. Don't go through life complaining. Go through life praising.
To hear more inspirational messages by Reverend Dr. Nicholas Lowe, please visit our website at stjohnthedivine.com.
Home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
David Lane here again for Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. After several surgeries for age-old issues, mainly my back and shoulders, there's no doubt that Southeast Orthopedic Specialists is my sustaining resource for living pain-free. Take it from me, and I'm being really honest here, there's no better orthopedic facility here in Jacksonville.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Have you tried golfing at the improved Cimarron Golf Club? If you haven't, tell you what, you're missing out on the best deal in Jacksonville. Now, many of you have received a postcard in the mail, and of course, if you bring that with you, $45 plus tax to play. That includes a cart, lunch, and a beer at the brand new Stone Barrel Tap House. Now, go to the website, that is CimarronGolfClub.com, and sign up for the Wild One Loyalty Program. That's the Wild One Loyalty Program, and get all of these specials emailed to you from Cimarron.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update, brought to you by Prize Picks. Opening round 1 of the high school football playoffs Friday night, the Bulls Bulldogs shut out Taylor County 49-0. Another big night for Bulldogs and Dean Burrows, who picked up 141 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. Bulls will stay at home for round 2, hosting Walton this Friday. Another big win for the Bishop Kenny Crusaders, who defeated Baker County 42-21. Credit goes out to Kenny quarterback Derek Heidemann, who led the way, throwing for 6 touchdown passes. Head coach Tim Krause spoke on 1010XL's Friday Night Lights about the phenomenal performance from Heidemann.
No, he played extremely well. You know, Derek is a great competitor. He's been good for us all year, and I think he's playing his best football the last couple of weeks. You know, he's a guy, he's one of the best leaders in our program, one of the most competitive kids. I mean, he's, you know, what you want in a quarterback, and really proud of him.
Crusaders will now travel down south to face Tallahassee Godby this Friday. It's 78 degrees at 1 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Light up your lunch with Helmets and Heels.
Presented by First Coast Lighting and Fans.
On 1010XL.
So 2 local soccer teams impressed over the weekend. Flagler College beat Clayton State 2-1 yesterday in the Peach Belt Conference Championship, and they'll find out their Division II first-round opponent tonight. And then I'm sure lots of people got to see this over the weekend. North Florida men's soccer won their second ASUN tournament championship, defeating Central Arkansas in penalty kicks.
Oh.
It does not get more nerve-wracking than penalty kicks. I don't care what age you are or what it's for. Once you get to PKs, everyone's on edge, and it was exciting to see them and their victory. And oh, by the way, the selection show for the NCAA men's tournament begins in a minute. So we'll get to find out who the Ospreys play in the first round during our show. So that's exciting.
Yeah, an incredible worst to first turnaround for the Ospreys. So a round of applause for the Birds of, not the Birds of Trey, the Birds of, I don't know. Well, maybe we should call them Trey because they scored 3 goals in regulation as well. It was a high scoring affair before they got to PKs. This was tied at 3-3. Before it went to overtime and then to penalty kicks.
Yeah, Joaquin Acuna, Molly, who does the sidelines for UNF men's soccer, had told me how good he is. And then certainly following that game, I read that he had 3 more chances. So they had already scored the 3 goals. And then in regulation, he had 3 more chances, including a bicycle kick that just missed the goal. But he had scored on a bicycle kick the week before. So certainly, like I said, a fun story to follow. All right, let's get it to the NFL as far as not the Jaguars. We do not have any news. We will certainly keep you posted. Mia will be off shortly to head to Doug Peterson's presser at 1:45, assuming that that's what it is. But
it's like a big trick. You walk in.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to walk in and Shad Khan's sitting there and they're like, actually, we're going to discuss. And be like, oh, okay. All right, cool. Like, what a plot twist here. But no,
Right.
As of now, again, they just got done. Open locker room. My expectation is that it will be business as usual.
Yeah, it is the bye week, so they get at least to take some time off this week. And I feel like for the Jaguars, it could be worse. It feels like it's rock bottom here, but it could be worse. You could be the Giants, who are 2-8, and they just benched their quarterback, who they owe a lot of money to.
I'm glad you wanted to lead here, Lauren, because the moment that the news came out, not just that Daniel Jones had been benched, but that Tommy DeVito will be the starting quarterback. And Drew Lock will be the backup. Because, quote, Drew Lock didn't get as many reps during training camp because he was hurt. Despite the fact that Drew Lock has been the number 2 all season behind Daniel Jones, who will now be an inactive number 3 emergency quarterback.
Yeah.
This all but says to me, the New York Giants are not parting ways with Brian Daboll. They are not parting ways with Joe Shane. John Mara needed to be taken at his word when he said, I need to be more patient. And the New York Giants are all in on getting a top 5, top 3 NFL draft pick and using it on a quarterback.
I don't mind that at all. We were talking last week and, how sometimes teams use the coach as the scapegoat when really it's the quarterback. And I like the fact that they're not, because I personally like Brian Daboll. And I think that with what you have a guy in Malik Neighbors, and clearly that hasn't helped Daniel Jones enough or at all, really. And you saw too many flashes early on in the season that Malik Neighbors can be a really, really good wide receiver in the NFL. Get a quarterback. And I really do think that things start changing there, because you have pieces defensively. You have things that you can work, but you're kind of, I guess I want to say kind of tied to this guy. But at the same time, I think there's only a year left, right, on his contract on Daniel Jones. So get away from it. It hasn't worked. You messed up. I feel like in this sense, it almost is him admitting we screwed up paying Daniel Jones, but we didn't screw up in our coaching decision, and I respect that from their side. It is interesting because
remember when 2026 his contract.
Okay, yeah,
and the cap hit next year is $41 million.
Ugh, that sucks, but I mean,
$1,605,000, and the cap hit in 2026 $58 million.
But respect for not writing. It's not working. Like, you've got to move on. It's one of those. It
sounds. Wait. Repeat what you just said, Taylor.
The dead cap's only $22 million. And
repeat what you just said. Not in the context of the Giants, though. It's not working.
Yeah.
It's not working. You got to move on.
And you have to. And we were talking about with the Browns, and I was making that comment. Granted, Deshaun ended up getting hurt, but it was in the same light where I was like, if it's not working, I don't care how much money is sitting on the bench. We constantly hear that when there are people, when it's their side, when the team's like, well, it's our money, it's their money they're spending, so why do you care how much they pay a player? In that same light, I'm not paying their salary. You screwed up and did that. I'm here for a winning football product, so whatever that takes, sorry, you messed up and signed the wrong guy.
And the money does matter, by the way, because there's a salary cap. If there wasn't a salary cap, then pay people as much as you want, but it does affect how many other good players you can get on your team.
But I'm just saying, in the sense, just because you're like, well, we're paying him money, we got to play him. I don't believe in that. If it's not winning, because at the end of the day, your main goal is to win football games. And the Browns, when they did it originally, they didn't start, they went to Donovan what's his name?
DTR. Dorian Thompson.
I always want
Donovan
to talk about the
Peoples-Jones
other
is also on the team.
We've seen now multiple starting quarterbacks get benched with Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson, and certainly now Daniel Jones. Do we see Aaron Rodgers get benched?
No, never. He'll fake an injury.
Fun. This has been so fun to watch that. It's been so fun.
Taylor wants him to get benched, I think.
No,
but
I
don't
love
see
just
it.
seeing
Who
him
do you
sad
dislike
out
more,
there.
Brian Kelly or Aaron Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers, I dislike more.
Okay, you have a longer
But
history
he
with
hurt my
Rodgers
heart
too.
for many, 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 many years. But the Packers keep winning even without him, so there's nothing we can really do about that. But yeah, and also for different reasons. I think like Brian Kelly, I was around, like he was the coach that I had to root for a lot of years, and he kept letting me down in the sense of every time there was a big game, we got absolutely dominated. And then Aaron Rodgers just literally broke my heart twice a year for almost every single year. So they're a little different. But
and then I'm not going to bring up the Packers-Bears ending yesterday, Taylor. I feel like you've had enough pain.
I was not.
Honestly, it was an entertaining
really
game. It was a competitive game.
Yeah.
If anything, for you, it's a win because it's once again another vote in favor of Caleb Williams and a stock down to Matt Eberflus.
And that's exactly what it was. And I was talking to friends about it. I was like, unfortunately, that's kind of the game that we need for the rest of the year. Like, you want it to look like your offense is functional, which it hadn't been for the last 3 weeks. And then, Waldron gets fired. Thomas Brown comes in. He does everything we've been asking to do. Rome gets a ton of catches. Cole Kmet gets catches. You're running the ball. Caleb's getting the ball out quick, 2.65 seconds, and looks like the quarterback we saw within those 3 weeks. And we're like, against he has had the highest passer rating against the Packers than any team has this year. And so to me, I was like, we saw development. We saw the offense look good. We saw the defense still look good. a blocked field goal ended up leading to it, but we kind of need losses, or they're going to keep Eberflus because his contract is one more year. So most people don't want them to drag that out, and they're like, you're going to have to lose. Unfortunately, you just want them to be competitive and not get killed, not lose 19-3 like you did against the Patriots.
The pain is part of the path.
Let me ask you this, though. When we're talking about the quarterbacks, because obviously we talked about Daniel Jones getting benched. If you were in another situation, we know it's kind of messy here, and we're talking about if Trevor plays or Trevor doesn't play. Would you rather be in a scenario where the Giants are right now and they're having to bench this quarterback that they paid, but it just did not work, but it does look like they are trending towards getting a new guy? Or would you rather be the Cowboys, where you kind of feel like, yes, he's hurt right now, but they're still, or like Dak's still the guy, and it hasn't been able to work out the way you want?
The one thing I'll say about the Cowboys, not that they're having a good season this year by any means, and Prescott's certainly hurt, but Prescott, you at least know what you have. The one thing that I think can be terrifying is putting all your hope into a rookie quarterback, and some people would say that about Trevor Lawrence. Like, Jacksonville put all of its hope into Trevor's bucket, and now obviously paying him the extension as well. You ride with him, but has he been the player that people expected? And a rookie quarterback, whether it's Caleb Williams or the next guy, are you 100% convinced that whoever the Giants draft is going to get you to where you want to go? And at least Dak Prescott, we've seen, has had an MVP season.
I would argue the Jags are in a similar situation to the Cowboys. They know who they have. Obviously, the Cowboys know even more so because Dak Prescott has been an MVP candidate. We've yet to see Trevor Lawrence on a consistent base be in that level. But at the same time, you largely know what the entity is. And this is a draft class that is going to be fascinating because you're going to have prospects like Carson Beck, who were projected to be top 5, top 10 picks and still could be, but we've also seen some shortcomings in the last few weeks that perhaps may give some buyers a little bit of pause. You couple that with the electric talents of a Cam Ward or a Shedeur Sanders, but at the same time, what are those two guys when they're put into chaotic situations? What are they in terms of raw prospects? I mean, let's be real. We're going back to the Florida game with how often Cam Ward was throwing across his body into traffic.
Yeah.
Can you harness that energy?
Could DJ Lagway end up being the best quarterback to come out of college football in the next few years?
Right, or Garrett Nussmeier, quite frankly, although he makes so many boneheaded mistakes. But I would argue in terms of just pure pocket presence and ability to decipher defenses, like, he's raw as hell, but he may be right there with Lagway, and that's it.
Yeah. Quinn Ewers is another guy that is going to be drafted high. I think I'd honestly rather have Arch Manning
and
than
that's
Quinn Ewers.
Right.
But somebody's going to overdraft him because that's what teams do.
Right. I would say this, especially going back to the Giants. What is Brian Daboll known for during his time in the NFL?
Winning Coach of the Year over Doug Peterson.
Okay, besides that.
Yes. Having Daniel Jones that he's had to...
Besides that.
I don't know. What's the next thing?
Harnessing Josh Allen. Being the whisperer up in Buffalo that brought Josh Allen to an MVP level.
Thank you, Bills, for beating the Chiefs.
Yes, that too. And so that's where I just look at this and I say they're going to give that regime another chance because, to your point, even if it is a total roll of the dice, what type of prospect you're going to get, Daboll was on that staff with Sean McDermott that identified Josh Allen, and he said, I can fix this kid. I can get this kid up to speed. And now you look at him, and he's in the front. Yeah. He's one of the front runners for MVP.
I read this stat this morning, and it surprised me. Josh Allen, obviously we saw him with that 26-yard touchdown run against the Chiefs, and that's what ended up winning the game for the Bills. It was Josh Allen's first scramble touchdown against the Chiefs in his career.
Oh, wow.
How is that possible?
That's weird.
That is.
So surprising.
Maybe that's why they weren't beating them before, because they weren't letting Josh Allen do his thing.
But the Bills have beaten the Chiefs, 4 times in the regular season and lost them 3 times in the postseason.
See, that sucks.
It's such a bugaboo for them. We just mentioned DJ Lagway, Florida. Well, Tramel Jones over the weekend decided to let everyone know he will be headed to Florida. He obviously decommitted from Florida State last week. And Hacker had a great conversation with him that's now available on the 1010XL social channels. So for all you Gator fans out there, go check that out on X at 1010XL. All right, Mia, you're off to hear the latest from Doug Peterson.
Yeah. We'll keep you all abreast on all of the social channels of 1010XL. But to my knowledge, yes, it'll be Doug Peterson speaking at 1:45 at the Miller Electric Center.
Or you're showing up to a surprise party.
Hey, that would be fun. Yeah, I'm very excited to hear, if nothing else, the fact that they're going to trot Doug out there.
52-6.
So many of these questions are questions that, quite frankly, are above Doug's pay grade. And I feel bad that if he is the only one standing there at the podium, that he is going to have to answer them.
Yeah, it does feel like it should be Shad and Doug and Trent, or at least Shad and Doug. But we shall see. Certainly, like you said, we'll be following along. When we return, Taylor Dahl has a tangent. We have our Chick-fil-A giveaway as well. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on a Big Chief Tire Monday. Find them online, wekeepjacksrollin.com. They're a family-owned shop. Been in business for a lot of years, and there's a reason for that. That's because they are so good at what they do. It's 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
Helmets and Heels. This hour is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers. Even the best teams can lose steam when their best players end up on the sidelines.
In case you haven't noticed, our receiver corps is decimated.
Listen for the personal injury attorneys Farah and Farah Injury Update.
Jacksonville. It's part of the game, though,
On 1010XL.
Are you ready to upgrade your home? Experience the winning combination of style and performance with Renewal by Andersen. Energy-efficient, custom-built replacement windows and doors. Right now, save 20% on your entire project. Plus, 0 down, no payments, and no interest for 18 months. This offer expires November 30th and restrictions apply. Renewal by Andersen, proud partner of the Florida Gators. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com for details.
License number CGC 1527613.
Now at Hodges Mazda, the 2024 Mazda CX-30 2.5S is ready for any adventure. Lauren Brooks here. Lease it today for just $275 or enjoy 0% APR for 36 months on the stylish 2025 Mazda 3 hatchback, a fun drive with sleek design. Experience the Hodges Mazda difference with their non-commissioned sales team, whose focus is solely on you. Plus, all new car purchases include the Hodges Mazda Protection Plan. Visit Hodges Mazda at HodgesMazda.com or stop in today during Mazda's A Season to Move You event. See dealer for details. Terms and fees apply for qualified applicants. Expires December 2nd, 2024.
Small business, big target. DoubleCheck provides AI-powered cybersecurity solutions to small businesses so you can keep your eye on the ball. Book your free consultation this month for 10% off your first 6 months. Visit doublecheck.com today.
Hey, Jacksonville Koozies, it's me, Soccer Sam, for Salvatore's Pizza. Rochester, New York's favorite pizza is now open in Jacksonville, Florida, Tapestry Park at the Loft Hotel Plaza. Daily $10 deals, dine in with beer and wine, and delivery at salvatores.com. The famous Formoso family brings Salvatore's Pizza, Rochester's favorite pizza, including our 32-piece sheet pizza for your next event. Go with me, baby. Salvatores.com.
Helmets and Heels.
It's a Big Chief Tire Monday. The local Jacksonville shop for fair prices and service you can trust.
If you're looking for the best in indoor air quality, I've got the experts to call. Florida Home AC, the official AC provider of the Jaguars, specializing in the best air quality for your home or work with the Remy Halo. Instead of waiting for pollutants to travel through the ductwork to be neutralized, the Halo cell releases friendly oxidizers every time your fan blows air, helping those in your home that suffer from allergies and other respiratory issues. Call 777-4300 for Florida Home AC and start enjoying cool comfort and clean air.
Mia here from MyBookie. Hope everyone had a profitable betting weekend. Monday Night Football tonight, where we have an old-fashioned Texas duel. The Texans travel to Dallas to take on those Cowboys. Both of these teams have had major injuries and have been pretty terrible of late. This game smells like a slog and definitely could go under the 42.5 over-under game total. Who would have thought the Cowboys are 7.5-point underdogs at home? Joe Mixon likely going to be running and catching passes all over the boys in this game. I'm looking at a same-game parlay and put my chips all in on Mixon for an anytime touchdown. And bet the over on Mixon's receiving yardage. Guys, MyBookie has the best sign-up bonus in the industry for Florida bettors. Our listeners can sign up and use promo code 1010XL to claim a bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit up to $1,000. Promo code 1010XL to claim your double deposit bonus for Monday Night Football. Bet anywhere, anytime, and make your season a winning season with MyBookie.
Post-Game Monday on 1010XL is brought to you by Dandy Foods, makers of quality fresh sandwiches and home of the good stuff.
Pickett here with my concierge doctor, Richard Townsend. Doc T, how does a concierge direct primary care operate?
We are a membership-based primary care made directly between a patient and physician. We'll have a limited amount of patients that allows us to give unlimited access and personal service to you. This individualized approach has been shown to lower hospitalizations as well as maintain healthier lives. We also give 24/7 access via phone to me outside of our scheduled office hours.
To learn more, go to mypvconcierge.com.
This season, check out our revamped website at southernsteerbutcher.com. Click on the Promotions tab, and our Jacksonville weekly grilling specials will hit you in the face like a hot route over the middle.
For tasty tips and juicy breasts, choose Southern Steer Butcher.
Any action?
Find more fish on the Ring Power Fishing Forecast Show.
That's a big redfish, guys.
With Captain Kevin Faber.
Oh, my gosh.
Brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Thursday nights at 6
on 1010XL AM.
Need a piece of jewelry that won't break your wallet? Beaches Jewelry and Pawn has tons of reconditioned jewelry, always inspected by their jeweler. Beaches Jewelry and Pawn in Jacks Beach. Online at beachesjewelryandpawn.com.
Visionaries, builders, and doers. Are you ready to change the world? Miller Electric is your opportunity to shape the future. Miller Electric is leading the charge in electric vehicle technology with our state-of-the-art EV Innovation Design Center. We're working to create a sustainable future. We're also the proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars, powering their performance at the brand-new Miller Electric Center. Miller Electric, we provide competitive pay, unbeatable benefits. Apply today. MillerCareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
If you're about to order a floral arrangement for someone you love, then take it from me, 1010XL's JJ LaSalva. Use Kuhn Flowers. That's right, Kuhn Flowers. For over 75 years, Kuhn Flowers gets it done right.
When pests invade your space, you don't just need them out, you need them out fast. And you need to keep them out. At Terminix, we show up for you and eliminate pests quicker because we care about what matters most to you. When pests show up, so do we. Don't live with a pest problem. Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. TERMINIX.com. Terminix it.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
You're listening to Helmets and Heels.
Illuminated by
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
On 1010XL.
Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. Mia O'Brien headed to the Miller Electric Center to hear from Doug Peterson. If you are a Jaguars fan and you thought that firings would have happened by now, I'm in the same boat as you. Look, we never want to see a person that has done their job well get fired. And you never want to see someone that you respect and trust have to get fired.
Yeah.
But at times it just feels like the situation has warranted it in a 52-6 loss after we heard from national reporters last week that if the Jaguars were to get blown out by the Lions, that changes would be coming, and then to have it radio silence today is certainly not what I was expecting at this point in time. But look, if Shad Khan decides that he wants to keep Doug Peterson as the head coach for the rest of the season and general manager Trent Baalke for the rest of the season and then evaluate, it's not what I would have done, not the decision I would have made, but I certainly understand that's his prerogative. He's the owner. He gets to do what he wants and make decisions or not make decisions when he wants.
Yeah. And then, I mean, we talked about this a little bit last week, too, that I was like, then just vocalize things. Sometimes it's not what people want to hear, but you still need to say it. So if you come out and say, the coaching staff will not be fired in season this year. We will evaluate that once the season's done. People aren't going to like it, but it's better than every week you getting asked the same things over and over and over. And every week on Sunday after the game, people are refreshing their phones to see if anybody, you're wasting our time at this point. Just tell us what's going on.
Yeah, transparency and communication are huge in today's day and age, especially with everything instantaneous. And so, yes, be transparent. Let us know, though, that you do care, that you are holding people accountable. I think that's the biggest message that fans shout all the time is they don't feel like Shad cares as much as they care.
Yeah.
And while I don't know him on a daily basis, or I don't talk to him on a daily basis, I talk to him usually about once a year. I have no idea what he's thinking and feeling right now. But if it was me, if I was the owner, I would be embarrassed by the product that was put on the field yesterday and the way that those players looked as if they could have cared less to be on an NFL field. All right now, Taylor Dahl has a tangent.
Now, Taylor's Tangent, served up by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL.
I have a few numbers I wanted to go over from yesterday's football games, but first, as they were just playing this Chargers-Bengals game, poor freaking Joe Burrow. This guy, he has 3,028 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, just 4 picks on the season, and the Bengals are 4-7.
It was the backless jacket, Taylor.
Yeah, I feel so bummed. He's doing everything those numbers on any other team would probably have a winning record on almost any team in the NFL. And even when you go back to they were playing the Chargers also, who have one of the better defenses in the league when it comes to points being scored. Previous to that game, the teams had scored 17, 10, 8, 17, 23, 16, 17, 20. Teams were not scoring on the Chargers, and he put up 27, and they lost. Those are the ones that suck because it does feel like their defense is struggling really bad, even with one of the better players in the league and Trey Hendrickson on that. But some of the other numbers that when we go through and every weekend, I feel like we've been talking about the scoring and how close the scoring is, and it's been kind of fun to watch this. So we're going to continue with some of those numbers yesterday. So 10 games yesterday or within 1 score in the fourth quarter. 7 of those.
Not the one in Detroit.
Yeah, not this one. So you could have watched any other game pretty much yesterday afternoon, and you would have had a good game.
I think a lot of people were.
Yeah, I truly do too. So 10 within 1 score in the fourth quarter. 7 of those were decided by 8 or fewer as the clock went to 0. Both Colts and Seahawks recorded game-winning touchdowns in the final minute of their game. So 78 games this season have been decided by 6 or fewer points, most through 11 weeks in NFL history. So that number, when we were talking about the parity last week with Carmen Vitale of around the league of teams being competitive even when maybe they're not that good. And we've seen it here. We've seen those close games where
Packers, Eagles, and Vikings. Yeah. All 3 of those for the Jags.
And so it's everybody, and that's what I kept kind of shouting this whole year. It's not something that I think you can hold too tightly to, because the difference is the teams that were in those close games that are good are winning those close games. But going to this game, Jared Goff, the first player in NFL history with multiple games with at least 400 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and 158.3 rating, which is obviously a perfect passer rating.
Yeah, by the way, I'm just going to give you a heads up for people who watch Monday Night Football and they do the Hemi Awards. Scott Van Pelt and the crew hanging those out. Jared Goff is going to win the Hemi. I'm just going to prepare you right now.
Yeah, get ready to see some replays from the game yesterday.
Yeah.
He also reached that over 400, 4 touchdowns, 158.3 passer rating. He reached that also in week 4 of 2018 with the Rams. There's only been 7 games in history to have that, and he has 2 of them. TJ Watt recorded his 104th sack in the Steelers' win, 4th most sacks by a player in his first 8 seasons since 1982. He has at least 1 sack in 66 career games, tied with Aaron Donald and Chandler Jones for the 4th most games with a sack in his first 8 seasons. AKA TJ Watt, good football player.
He's really good. You know who else is really good? Are pretty much every Lions defensive player.
Yeah.
They're tackling. I mean, I literally thought a Jags player was going to get hurt on every time they were tackled, because they were ferocious and swarmed to the ball. And that's when you get a collection of guys. They're not all super high draft picks, obviously, but the way that Dan Campbell has those guys ready, prepared, at feisty, man, they are really good. And the Steelers defense is very similar to that too.
Yeah, that to me, and that's organizationally. To me, that's coaching. To me, it's
culture.
It's not like you're talking about their whole defensive lines being first and second round picks. They're not, but what they're doing is developing these guys.
They lost their highest draft pick in Hutchinson.
And it didn't help. It didn't matter. I don't even want to know what that game looked like yesterday with Aiden Hutchinson, honestly. But so Derrick Henry, we've talked a lot about King Henry around these parts, rushed for his 13th touchdown of the season, becoming the 4th player in the Super Bowl era to record a touchdown in each of his first 11 games of a season.
Wow.
So if you thought Derrick Henry was done, he's not. Far from done. He joins O.J. Simpson, Jerry Rice, and John Riggins for that first 11-game season to score a touchdown in each of those first 11. Brock Bowers, a guy we talked a lot about here around draft time, maybe not technically coming to Jacksonville, but it is funny because I feel like every team we talked when we were doing our Helmets and Heels media draft, every single person was like, we love him and he's going to be really good, but we just don't really need a tight end. And here's Brock Bowers, had 13 receptions for 126 yards. And by the way, not really a quarterback in that city either.
I think I tweeted out Brock Bowers' his freshman year at Georgia, oh my gosh, I wish he could become a Jags player.
Oh, did you?
Like, I wish he could be a Jaguar. He is that good. And yeah,
He's
is
showing
already,
it.
Yep, already proving it. And like you said, that's without a good quarterback.
I mean, imagine if they get one. And 13 receptions, 126, a touchdown. Most receptions by a rookie tight end in NFL history. He has 706 receiving yards and passed Kyle Pitts for the most receiving yards ever by a tight end in his first 10 games.
It's funny because everyone used to say, not funny, but ironic. Everyone used to say that you shouldn't expect a rookie tight end to be that productive.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're seeing it more and more now. Like these guys coming right into the league. Maybe it's the way that the college offense looks as well now. But yeah, Brock Bowers, we knew he was going to be good.
I do think, too, how we're seeing offenses now, because so many teams, they'll do different things with tight ends, obviously. But we've talked a ton about how that like deep passing game and the super just air it out long game in the NFL has kind of diminished a little bit because of certain factors when we talk about the linebackers dropping back in coverage and stuff like that. But I do think that is a part of the reason why we're seeing these tight ends. Yeah, we saw it with Sam Laporta. We're seeing it now with Brock. We obviously saw it with Kyle Pitts. There's been multiple instances where in their first year, you're already seeing tight ends be major parts of an offense. And to me, it's really fun to watch that because I love the tight end position. Another interesting one from over the weekend, Taysom Hill had 8 receptions, 188 scrimmage yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns. He's the first non-running back in NFL history with at least 125 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns in a game.
The Saints are one of those squirrely teams.
Yeah.
Just when you thought they were good in the beginning of the season, then they spiraled. Yeah. Then now all of a sudden they're actually winning football games because they fired their head coach.
Yeah. Oh, imagine that.
Imagine that.
And that's right. To me, that division has to be one of the more interesting of more so like what's going on. Like who wins that?
Yeah, we thought the Falcons were going to win it. Well, I thought the Falcons would win it. Some people thought the Bucs.
Yeah, I picked the Bucs, and obviously I wasn't expecting them to lose their main wide receiver for that. But yeah, you look at it, the Falcons are 6-5, the Bucs are 4-6, the Saints are 4-6, and then you have the Panthers. But it does feel like every week a different one of those teams are kind of scrappy and winning and feeling like they should be the ones that are going to take that division. So that's one I think that is going to come down to the wire. Honestly, I wanted to look at that schedule because the Falcons. Obviously, when you start looking at the divisional games will be interesting, but they just got routed by the Broncos. That was a 38-6 win by a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix. And so they have coming up the Chargers, the Vikings, the Raiders, the Giants, the Commanders, and the Panthers. So not the most difficult path for them. And obviously they have a 2-game lead right now. And then
the Bucs, though, Giants, Panthers, you would think win-win. Raiders win. Chargers, typical game.
Yep.
And then Cowboys, Panthers. So
very winnable.
It might be, it might be the Bucs that come away with it.
I would kind of wish that they played towards the end, like they had that final game of the season. I feel like that would have been fun to see rather than both of them having the Panthers at the end. But yeah, a lot of interesting stuff coming out of that division.
Saints Bucs is the very last game of the season, January 5th.
Okay, so they do have that.
They have one more,
well,
so they already had their bye.
Oh, yeah, that's good. I wish the Falcons Bucs though played at the end.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like that would be one of the games that would come down head to head. And then when you look at the NFC West, the Cardinals are 6-4, the Rams are 5-5, Seattle's 5-5, and San Fran's 5-5. So that's another one that's kind of neck and neck. The Philly we just saw, we were talking about last week, Philly pulled away and they have the lead in that division, and it's pretty much them and Commanders. So probably going to come down to those two teams. But it will be interesting. There's a lot of divisions that I feel like could come down to the end. Honestly, even the AFC South at this point, the Texans are 6-4 and the Colts are 5-6. Like, which those are the Colts are probably not one of the one we thought was going to be coming down the stretch of having the potential to win. But if AR plays like AR played yesterday, they will be in it.
He looked incredible yesterday.
Yeah.
And you would expect he's going to have other moments where he looks, again, like a guy who hasn't started a lot of NFL games. But when he's on, he's on. And so certainly he's got the mobility too. And as long as he can stay healthy, certainly we'll see. The Texans, if they don't win this division, oh my goodness. I wonder what shakeups are going to happen in Houston there. All right, we've got lunch on the ladies.
We do. Lunch for 2 to Chick-fil-A. Give us a call at 641-1010. Let's say caller number 1.
I like it. And speaking of 1, we have 1 segment to go here on Helmets and Heels on a Big Chief Tire Monday on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
This is Helmets and Heels.
This hour is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers.
Jaguars fans, want to meet some of your favorite players? Coke Florida, Publix Supermarkets, and the Jags are giving you the chance. Join 1010XL at Publix, 170 Village Commons Drive, St. Augustine, Tuesday, November 19th at 5. For autographs, pictures, raffles, and more. Get off the sidelines and get to Publix to grab an ice-cold Coca-Cola, Coke Zero Sugar, or any of your favorite Coca-Cola beverages using Publix digital app. The Jags Jaguars and Coke, Florida. There's magic when we cheer together at Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Florida's weather is unpredictable. Don't let the Epic chill catch you off guard. For reliable heating services, call Epic Cool Heating and Air. Keep your home cozy all season long. Call 904-859-EPIC, 904-859-3742.
Joint replacement surgery is always a tough decision, but relief from chronic pain may be just around the corner. Dr. George Barry here, and there's a lot to consider to make sure you get the proper diagnosis and best path back to the range of motion and mobility you had. Age, lifestyle, and overall health all play a part. Let the team at Barry Orthopedics give you a full analysis to help you make the best decision. Log on to BarryOrthopedics.com or call the office to make an appointment. With offices across Jacksonville and ready to help you feel good again, we'll get you back on the road to recovery at Barry Orthopedics.
It's a Big Chief Tire Monday on Helmets and Heels.
Jimerson Burr is a full-service, Florida-based commercial law firm dedicated to helping businesses manage risk, maximize opportunities, and move their company forward. Jimerson Burr attorneys are business-oriented lawyers, equally comfortable as community leaders, private transaction counselors, or courtroom advocates. If you have a legal issue of any kind affecting your business, contact the firm at 389-0050 or jimersonfirm.com.
Football fans, huddle up. Make Best Bet St. Augustine your game day headquarters. We're serving up the ultimate viewing experience with all the big games on our massive screens, mouth-watering food specials till 2 a.m., drink deals to keep your spirits high, and we're open till 4 in the morning for post-game celebrations. Ante up for your team and score big at Best Bet St. Augustine this football season. For the play-by-play on our game day specials, visit bestbetjacks.com. That's bestbetjacks.com. Best Bet St. Augustine, where every fan leaves a champion.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes. November is Veterans Month, and Awaken 180 is honoring all active duty veterans and spouses with 15% off our entire program, plus the same free support for life all clients receive. Celebrate Veterans Month with 50% off at awaken180weightloss.com.
Start your week by talking teal with Tony. Hall of Fame Monday with Tony Baselli. Monday mornings at 7:20 with Dan and Jeff on the drill. Brought to you by Heritage Roofing of North Florida. Hall of Fame Quality Roofing Solutions on 1010XL.
Yo, it's your boy E to the T here. And fellas, we all know that athletes train every day to perform better on the field, right? But what if you could enhance your performance in the bedroom? No training required. That's right. I'm talking about that secret weapon, Blue Chew. A chewable tablet with the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, and Staxin that ships right to your door in a discreet package. No doctor visits, no trips to the pharmacy. It's all online. Their licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredients and strength for your prescription. They also have Daily Tad that contains 7 essential vitamins. And it's chewable too. And now you can try Blue Chew for the free ski. That's right, for free on me. Visit BlueChew.com and enter my promo code 1010XL. You only have to pay $5 for shipping. Turn that oh no into a oh yeah. That's promo code 1010XL. Let your boy hook you up with some Blue Chew. Get your confidence back. Visit BlueChew.com.
Jags fans, looking for the perfect activity around the holidays? We've got you covered with the inaugural Teal Trot 5K. The race takes place outside Everbank Stadium, Saturday, December 21st. We can't wait to see you there. Your registration includes the 5K, a throwback Jaguars headband, and a ticket to the December 29th game against the Titans. Visit Jaguars.com/Teal Trot to sign up today.
There are 3 certainties in life: death, taxes, and if you stay in your home long enough, a new roof. Pick it here for our friends at Lockhart Roofing. Nobody better in Jacksonville. How do I know? They are a local certified Master Elite contractor, and that means they have a GAF Master Elite warranty. That's the best in the roofing industry. In this day and age, don't settle for cheaper discount roofers. Lockhart Roofing has been here for decades. They aren't going anywhere. Call my friends at Lockhart Roofing, 994-3851. That's 994-3851. Lockhart Roofing, Jacksonville's best for Jacksonville people.
This is Dr. Kevin Kaplan, head team physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jags, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Doug Peterson on if he expects any change to his job status after Sunday's 52-6 loss at Detroit.
I don't know yet. Something I got to think about, and it's just
It's hard to put it all on, I think, one person. I think coaches have to look at themselves. We have to look. I got to start there, look at myself, and obviously the staff, and what are we doing? How are we, preparing our players, and then same way with the players, right? They got to look at themselves and be critical of themselves, and then make the changes, make the corrections that we need to get better.
Barring any changes, Doug Peterson scheduled to meet with the media today at 1:45. I'm Andrew Gibson with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
I'm not trying to pour salt into the wounds of Jaguars fans, but Benjamin Solak just tweeted this out, and so I was going to share it. The Lions' 52-6 win over the Jaguars was the Lions' fourth game this season with more touchdowns than incompletions. Their fourth game this season with more touchdowns than incompletions. What must that be like?
I don't even know. That sounds honestly fantastic. And I feel like we've seen some numbers like that throughout the league this year. They were just popping up. Bo Nix, and obviously Bo Nix had a really, really good day. And so it's been kind of fun because he's one of the ones that I think a lot of people had question marks of, like not quite sure what Bo Nix was going to be. And especially after the way things went with Russell Wilson and Sean Payton, everyone was kind of like, okay, what is this going to look like? But then you see rookie quarterbacks doing stuff like that and teams doing stuff like that as a whole who felt like a year ago were more of a disaster than what the Jags were, and you're seeing them in one season look better. We were just before the break talking about the Texans Colts, and what if the Texans do end up losing the division this year? What happens there when it comes to the coaching staff? I know it's not saying give up on CJ Stroud, but there's obviously going to be some questions surrounding it of what he hasn't had Nico Collins. We'll see tonight what it looks like with Nico back. Do they kind of look like the team they had been? Because obviously that's one of your major pieces of that offense. But there are, when you look around league wide, there's some guys doing things where you're like, okay, how do they keep doing this over and over and over again? And I've talked about the Steelers the last few weeks. I think that I said last week, I think the Steelers are actually a really good football team, and I don't think it's one of these fluke years where Mike Tomlin just scrapes in. I think they have been able to develop and put together a really good team, and they just needed that little extra something of at least a consistent quarterback, and it looks like they're getting that out of Russ, even on not his best days right now. But yeah, I don't know what it's like to have a quarterback.
I mean, that means that you have a great offensive scheme, obviously, too. I do think the Texans win tonight because they're going up against the Cowboys. And at least from what I watched last week with Cooper Rush starting for the Cowboys, they looked like they couldn't do anything offensively. And so, yeah, I would expect the Texans to still win the division. But certainly we've seen crazier things happen here in the AFC South specifically. Doug Peterson, if you're wondering, does meet with the media at 1:45. So certainly we will keep you updated as far as anything that comes out during the final few minutes of our show here today. I wanted to mention Florida men's basketball. Started off my weekend excellent. Friday night with the 13-point win over FSU. But riddle me this, Taylor. You win, you're 4-0 and undefeated, and instead of moving up in the AP Top 25 poll, and again, this doesn't really matter, but it's just fun to talk about, they go from 20th to 21st. It makes no sense to me, but again, it doesn't really matter. Walter Clayton had 25 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and Florida out-rebounded FSU 47-29.
Whoa.
Leonard Hamilton, I understand if you're an FSU basketball fan, you're probably wishing for a coaching change there as well.
Is that expectations for Florida that they would be that type of defensive, rebounding team?
They knew going into the season that they'd have good rebounders because of the height. The excellent length that Todd Golden has on his team certainly is something to watch out for. And I'm sure that this week, Florida A&M, Southern Illinois, I don't know that they'll have much, in the way of tests there. But it's going to be fun to see how this team progresses because we're seeing them play really well already. Mm-hmm. And obviously with basketball teams, the longer you play together, the better you get. So that'll be fun. And then as far as the Jacksonville Jaguars are concerned, I would expect then if certainly nothing has come out to this point in time, Taylor, that we're going to see Doug Peterson as the head coach when the Jaguars play host to the Texans December 1st, right?
Yeah. I mean, it feels like it at this point. I know some people are saying, it's the bye week, so there is more time this week to possibly make that decision. But why? why would you keep a coach during this is honestly the perfect opportunity to do it if you're going to do it because
And he is
today
at the podium right now.
he's at the podium.
Yep.
Okay, so well, I mean, he's there.
Yep.
I don't think he's announcing his own firing.
I would expect not.
But it would be like ideally it would be the perfect week to do it because then you get that interim in there. You have this bye week to kind of start getting things sorted out, and then next week you start practicing with this guy rather than it's not going to happen next Monday or Tuesday after a bye. So then now you are waiting until after that Houston Texans game if it's going to happen, and what needs to happen in that game. Like what else needs to happen? That's my question. What does Shad need to see that for sure says something has to be changed? Because if a 52-6 loss isn't it, then I don't know.
Yeah, and I think to me, losing a football game is always tough, but it's how you lose it. And the way that the Jaguars lost a week ago to the Vikings, you thought, okay, well, it's Mac Jones. He wasn't able to get anything done outside of the first or second possession of that ball game. And at this point in time, like if you had Trevor Lawrence in that game, you'd probably win. And this is a Vikings squad that certainly came into that game at 6-2, right? And so there were ways to kind of get around that and make excuses a little bit. Oh, look, the defense only gave up field goals. They didn't give up touchdowns, even though they gave up a ton of yards. But there was a way to look at that game with a positive light. And like I said, if you only had your starting quarterback. And then this week, same obviously backup quarterback in Mac Jones, but nobody looked, especially defensively, nobody looked like they even wanted to be there.
Yeah.
I just don't understand how you want to move forward with that. But obviously, like I said earlier, this is Shad Khan's decision. He gets to make it on his own time. And if he wants Doug to be the coach the rest of the season and then fire him, he's allowed to do that. He gets to make the decisions. He's the owner.
Yeah, and even a few weeks ago, I remember making the comment about how it didn't feel like there was any effort being given by the Jags on the field, and I said that a lot of times when you see that, it does feel like it's correlated to coaching because and they kept saying, oh, the he hasn't lost the locker room. Doug hasn't lost the locker room. Players were saying it. He was saying it. But to me, it just felt like it because if you aren't giving that effort, we've talked about it with Florida and how they do play like that for Billy Napier, and you just don't see that, and you haven't, honestly, and since maybe, I don't know, maybe week one, honestly, that you really felt like they were fully the entire team as a whole playing for Doug Peterson and everybody giving their most effort. So to me, that is what, if I was personally Shad Khan, which I'm clearly not, those are the things I'd be looking at, not so much, okay, well, there were these close games and these certain moments. The Lions, I wonder if in their head they're like, well, the Lions are one of the best football teams in the league, so
That's
it's
where
okay.
you were supposed to be, too. By the way, you were supposed to be one of the best teams in the NFL. And week 3, when you played the Bills on Monday Night Football, you stunk it up then, too.
Yeah.
And so, yes, the close games, they were 1-6 in games. They are 1-6 in games when it's been determined by less than a touchdown. But you also at other times have been blown out. And you were pretty much blown out in Chicago or against Chicago and London as well. And so, yes, I understand that the Jaguars had a late bye, that they went to London, they played 2 games. They didn't have a bye week until this week, but this week now coming up. But
that's also their choice.
You get to make that decision usually with the NFL once you travel to London. Doug was asked about defensive fatigue. He said, the defensive players have been on the field a lot the last 4 games. Yes, they have.
I wonder why.
But they didn't look like they cared. It didn't look like there was the effort there, not that they were just tired.
Yeah, and you could see it. That's how I felt last year when people were being super critical on the defense. I kept saying they looked tired. They looked worn out. I felt like they were on the football team a lot. That's when there was a lot. Trevor was throwing picks, and there was a lot of fumbles, and there was turnovers in general kind of happening, and it kind of felt like by the end of the games or even the third quarter, the defense just felt like they looked worn out. You could see guys on the sideline getting air, and those are the moments when you're like, okay, they're just exhausted because they're having to do everything. If you're already in the beginning of the game, you're down 3 scores very quickly. That's not because your defense is tired.
No, yeah. And Doug did confirm that Gabe Davis will miss the rest of the season. He does have the meniscus injury on the season. He had 239 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's one of the stranger things. I know both you and I were super high on Gabe Davis coming here from Buffalo. And I thought he would certainly be a guy that might even lead the team, not in receptions, but in touchdowns, because in the past he's been such a red zone threat.
Yeah. And that's where I was I didn't think he was going to come in and have, and I even said he didn't ever have a ton of receptions, even in Buffalo. He was always just that guy, though, that had one of the highest red zone percentage touchdowns in the league. So I did think he was going to be a factor in that, but it was almost like when he did, he wasn't catching the ball, which was also odd because it never felt like he had the drop issue in Buffalo. And who knows, maybe that's something when you are watching a team a little more closely that maybe Buffalo fans did see stuff like that, and that's why nobody really seemed sad when Gabe Davis left, honestly. And so those are kind of things that factor in too. But it is when you go back and you look at the free agents this offseason, it doesn't feel like outside of Mitch Morse that any of them had really panned out to anything close that you wanted them to be, especially not Eric Armstead, especially not Ronald Darby, and not Gabe Davis. And then when you look at the draft, yeah, BTJ, but outside of that, BTJ and Jarian. Yeah, and Cam Little and Jarian Jones. Those three are the ones that you're looking at that you're like, okay, at least there are these three positives out of that. But when over the weekend, I was seeing a lot of people kind of posting on Twitter about the Balky's time here, and they go back to that year when we had 13 picks and used all 13 picks in the draft rather than like bundling and trading up and trying to get. And I was like, there's been so many things from the beginning that have been red flags of why this wasn't going to work, and we kept pushing it back because little things would happen, and then end of 2022 happens when you have the healthiest team in the NFL and a lot of lucky bounces. And I think it saved them a little longer than what would have happened if they didn't make the postseason that year.
That's one of the frustrating things, too, is last year we had specific things to point out as to why this team was losing. We knew it was partially because of the offensive line, injuries, certainly to other key pieces of this team. This year, I wouldn't put it on the offensive line. I wouldn't put it on key injuries.
Yeah.
It's just the whole thing is rotten. Mia tweeted this out. Doug Peterson says he met with Shad Khan last night after the game, does not have any meetings with him scheduled for today, and he has not decided on any changes. He's still evaluating. A lot of evaluating to do. I don't know if you would say the offense was worse, the defense was worse yesterday. I guess the defense, because they did allow 645 yards, but the offense only scored 2 field goals, and one of those was a 59-yard bomb.
Thank you,
that tied Josh Scobie and Josh Lambo for the longest kick in Jaguars history. All right, Taylor, let's cool it down.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since '87.
If you guys want a little bit of relief and laugh at me for a little bit, it's been 2,164 days since the Bears have beat the Packers. So I keep having that one. And I was talking to you in the break, too, because Matty Eberflus is sending over that final field goal clip to the referee committee or whatever it's called to look at, because it does look, and I thought I saw it during the game live, too, but it does look like the Packers defender makes contact with our long snapper while his head's down, which you can't do. That should be a penalty. And it was just called on the Bears 3 weeks ago against Washington. So that is being sent. But if you want to talk about double sadness, I have that. And I have what's going on here. But it is. We've talked all season, too, about the moments that the refs, and they've done it here. They've done it with games and for the Jaguars too, where it's just inconsistency, and that's what frustrates people the most. We're not asking perfection, because this is very quick plays, bang bang plays that sometimes are happening, but you have to be consistent. And if 3 weeks ago you're calling an identical play and calling leverage on one team, but then 3 weeks later aren't calling it when the same exact thing happens, that's when players and coaches start getting frustrated.
And it's not like the end of the game or the result
didn't matter.
Change, even if they decide.
It's literally the game.
Yeah, that it was a leverage penalty. I'll cool down with the fact that LSU had allowed through 9 games 6 sacks, and Florida got 7 in one game against LSU on Saturday. Caleb Banks had 7 pressures, which was tied for most among all defensive tackles in Week 12. He certainly had a fantastic game. Tyreek Sapp did as well. Cam Jackson, too. I never expected DJ Lagway, basically with an injured hamstring, to be able to go out there and make some of the throws that he made. I cannot say enough good things about him. And I also can't say enough good things about Jaden Baugh as well, who I loved since April in the spring game. And Billy Napier, I think, forced because of injury to Montrell Johnson, starting to use Jacoby Jackson and Jaden Baugh a lot more. And the offense is clicking when DJ Lagway is playing. And I just never expected him to be able to make it through the entire game after he was carted off in the loss to Georgia.
I know. Well, and especially the reports that people were talking about how it seemed like the hamstring was off the bone.
Yeah.
Like that sounded terrifying.
Don't believe everything you read on the internet. Maybe that's what we should tell people.
And I think so let me ask you this then, because I know we've had a lot of conversations about Billy Napier, and even in this show today, we've talked about, okay, this is why you need to be a little more patient with coaches sometimes. sometimes. But is it a little frustrating to you that he's had Jaden Baugh this whole season and waited until he had to really play him to actually put him out there rather than evaluating he's the better running back on the team?
He's used him here and there throughout the season, so it's not like he hasn't used him at all. But certainly, those of us who've watched closely, it's similar to Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby.
Yeah.
One of them is the better running back. We can all see it. So go to that guy early and often. And so, yeah. But I would say you also have to remember Napier has this extreme loyalty to Montrell because they were together before.
Moved with him.
Yep, and he transferred with him. And I get it. I think Montrell's pretty good too. It's not like there's a massive drop off.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's something special in Baugh. There's certainly something special in Lagway as well.
And your guys' offensive line too.
The offensive line has done
it's been
incredibly
all year.
well.
I feel like it's been one of the more highlights. But now, when you have games like that where you are seeing DJ Lagway like have time and be able to like go through progressions, and then the run game looks so well, you do want to give credit to them too.
Yeah. One final thing before we get out of here and bring in XL Primetime coming up at 2:00. Mia also tweeted out Doug Peterson was asked about Ryan Nielsen. He said, "We're not there as far as firing Ryan Nielsen. You got to be careful when you start pointing fingers at certain people. If you're going to point a finger, point it at me." Well, I think that's what
we are.
Yeah, Duval
Just
has
saying.
done. But certainly at the end of the day, Doug Peterson, it seems like, will lead this team out at Everbank Stadium Sunday, December 1st when the Texans come to town. And so you can cheer or not cheer for the Jags then. That's going to do it for us today. For Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, for Mia O'Brien, I'm Lauren Brooks. Don't go anywhere. XL Primetime is next. These heels are made for talking, and we will